Chris Christie made news today with his shocking announcement that he was endorsing Donald Trump for the presidency. And I want to read you a quote. He says, "Donald's a great guy and a good person, but I just don't think that he's suited to be president of the United States. I don't think his temperament is suited for that, and I don't think his experience is." Oh wait, that was before today. That was something Chris Christie said earlier on. Okay, let's fix that. He says, "Showtime is over. We are not electing an entertainer-in-chief. Showmanship is fun, but it is not the kind of leadership that will truly change America."
Wait a minute.
Oh wait, that was previously. That was in New Hampshire. Sorry, that was a couple of weeks ago. He says, well, he has views. He says, "If Donald starts yelling and screaming at me in the middle of a speech, you could be sure that I'll say, 'Sit down and shut up.'" I don't think he said that today, though. I don't know. There are folks in this race who don't care about what the law says because they're used to being able to just fire people indiscriminately on television. So they don't have to worry about what laws say or not say. Going on to say, "You do not need to be banning Muslims from the country. In my view, that's a ridiculous position and one that won't even be productive." Except that it was productive, because that and his other positions apparently led Chris Christie, who's supposed to be some kind of serious politician, to endorse Donald Trump, which he did, and you'll see that in this video.
I can guarantee you that the one person that Hillary and Bill Clinton do not want to see on that stage come next September is Donald Trump. They know how to run the standard political playbook against junior senators and run them around the block. They do not know the playbook with Donald Trump because he is rewriting the playbook. He is rewriting the playbook of American politics because he's providing strong leadership that's not dependent upon the status quo. And so the best person to beat Hillary Clinton in November on that stage last night is undoubtedly Donald Trump. And so I am thrilled to be here this morning to lend my support. I will lend my support between now and November in every way that I can for Donald to help to make this campaign an even better campaign than it's already been, and then to help him do whatever he needs to do to help to make the country everything that we want it to be for our children and grandchildren. He's a good friend. He is a strong and resolute leader. And he is someone who is going to lead the Republican Party to victory in November over Hillary Clinton, which is the single most important thing we can do. So I thank him for his friendship. I thank him for all the kindnesses that we've shared with each other over the years. But more importantly than that, I thank him for leaving the private sector, for seeing that there was a need for strong leadership in this country, and for being willing to step out of the private sector and come and offer himself.
That was one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
That was wow. And you know what? He was going to endorse Ben Carson until he brought up that fruit salad shit.
Okay. So Donald Trump looks like a mafia boss. And he brings in these guys. Now, you were sorry you were against me, right? And these guys are like, "Oh, yes, I want to thank you for the honor of competing against you. I want to thank you for coming into the race and kicking my ass. I want to thank you." Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. And the boss man every once in a while trots these losers out. Remember, he brought out Huckabee and Santorum.
Oh my God, that's right.
When he wasn't in the debate right before Iowa, and he brought them out on stage. And at that point, those losers were still in the race.
Yeah.
And they came, and the boss man stood next to them, said, "Go ahead, go ahead." And they're like, "Oh, we want to thank Donald Trump." You losers, you pathetic, pathetic people. These guys who had made fun of Donald Trump before, like, "Oh, yeah, he's got no chance. We're, us politicians, we got this thing figured out." Now they come and grovel and kiss his ring. And what it does, one of the things it does, is it shows that he was right all along about politicians. You could just buy him.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could just get him. And this guy, he wants favors. He's going to come in here and do exactly what I tell him. Grovel, bitch. Grovel.
Yeah.
And tough guy Chris Christie, who loves to yell at reporters and average citizens, when it comes to a strong man like Donald Trump, grovel.
So sad. Chris Christie mocked him mercilessly for skipping that debate. That wasn't that long ago, man. And I made a reference, I believe, yesterday to Chris Christie, and I thought he would be cheering on, as much as he doesn't like Marco Rubio, them slamming Trump, because he had been so clearly against Trump this whole time. And he endorses him today?
No.
Because, so what? So he could end up on, like, the Department of Bridge Building or something? Like, what does he think he's going to get out of this someday?
No, I know exactly what he thinks he's going to say. And I want to dispel the notion that he doesn't know what he's doing.
He knows exactly.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
That's what I'm implying. What do you think? You think it's VP?
VP, no question. And the funny
so
thing
he could bring over New Jersey with his abhorrent approval. in New Jersey.
No. It's actually logical. Okay, I don't know that. I mean, I'm not in this sphere, so I'm so glad I'm not. I don't know that I can get myself to demean myself and unman myself like he just did in front of Donald Trump, right? But in terms of a political move, it is logical, right? If you're in that sphere and you already have no shame, Chris Christie, Donald Trump is a very sensible ticket. Chris Christie, also a bully like Donald Trump is, but apparently a junior bully, right? Didn't quite make it into the major leagues yet, but he's working on it. And so for him, and he's an establishment politician. It calms the establishment nerves. For all of his regular guy routine, Chris Christie was beloved by the establishment until he ran into that trouble about the scandals over the bridge, right? But now, okay, now you got two problems, though, if he's the VP candidate. One is he's got the bridge scandals. Oh, this is what Donald Trump does with scandals, right? So irrelevant. Donald Trump has 1,000 times bigger scandals. He doesn't care about that stuff. That's not going to deter him. And then all that stuff that John just read you about Chris Christie saying bad things about Donald Trump. Again, they'll be like this. I was campaigning against him. Let's move on, right? Problem solved. They make a good bully team.
It's amazing, too. I saw at the bottom while we were watching that graphic, it was a Trump quote. It was Trump, Cruz at least has reasonable lies, but Rubio is a lowlife. You can almost perfectly map out the pressure that Trump feels from anybody with the attacks he launches the next day. Like, he can't just absorb anything. It can't just be like, oh, so this guy gained a bit in the polls. Okay, we'll see what happens. That he has to lash out in proportion to how much pressure he's feeling.
And two things, watching that debate, Donald Trump proved himself to be the empty suit that he is, right? All they had to do for 8 months was to ask him, what's your plan? And he totally crumbled.
Yeah.
Totally crumbled. He said, I don't know if you guys heard it, he said, I don't repeat myself. I caught it.
I don't repeat myself. He said it 3 times.
I caught it. Oh, did he say it 3 times? I caught it twice.
There's nothing to add.
And there's nothing
he
to
checked
add.
his brain.
And my point was, this is a brilliant political move to have Christie endorse him today, because now nobody's talking about how he got his ass kicked by that boy man, Marco Rubio, last night. Everybody's talking. CNN has been covering it live. When I saw it, when I was at home,
it's breaking news.
It's just nonstop. Chris Christie's endorsing Donald Trump. Nobody's talking about how Donald Trump, as soon as someone stood up to the bully and punched him in the nose, he had a meltdown, and he had a meltdown.
He did have a meltdown.
He had a melt. They didn't know what the hell to do. And I bet he bribed Chris Christie. I bet he gave Chris Christie $10 million. I have no evidence, but I'm betting that he gave Chris Christie $10 million to endorse me today. Do it, Chris. Do it, and you can have Oreo cookies the rest of your life.
Maybe not $10 million, but at least like $100,000 bar. Something.
He get but Trump is proving with getting this Chris Christie endorsement that his appeal extends to people just as reprehensible as him.
Yeah. The thing that I don't understand, I get that they've taken away some of the coverage of the Rubio thing. I'm assuming they got to return to the Rubio thing because Chris Christie, the entire time he was running, couldn't get a day of news coverage. He had almost no support. Who cares that he's endorsing him? And I'm sure they're going to say that it matters. He's an incredibly unpopular governor who couldn't get 3 or 4% of the country to support him for the presidency. So clearly it's massive that he's throwing his support behind Donald Trump.
And Christie's more comfortable with Trump because Trump only calls ugly, fat women names, right?
That's true.
Not men.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've got him as a top 3 possibility for VP of Donald Trump. And so as much as you're right, he ran a terrible campaign, couldn't get any kind of traction, and as much as you're right that they should go back to how Rubio kicked his ass last night, they won't. All they care about is the circus, and Donald Trump is a traveling circus, and so all the networks are like, yes, the circus is back. So of course they're going to cover 24/7. It's a brilliant move to grab the spotlight once again. And
it is brilliant.
It really is. I mean, the one thing he's really you're crazy.
It's stupid.
You're crazy.
What they want is news coverage. They want something exciting. Okay, so 1/3 to 40% of Republican primary voters support Donald Trump. Tons of people hate Donald Trump. A news cycle of how Donald Trump melted down under the attacks of somebody who's just a boy is way more interesting for the country than another Republican you don't like supports a Republican you don't like.
Okay, no, that's a fair point.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, But they're not going to go away from Donald Trump. They're just going to cover whatever he does.
No, cover Donald Trump.
I know.
Cover that he fell apart. That he was like, why are you asking me so many questions?
No,
Yes.
but you have to realize there's not that many strong people in the world. Most people are followers. And so if Donald stands there like the boss man and says, go ahead, do what you're going to do, Chris Christie will follow, and all the networks will follow. All they're doing is, these are the same guys who were mocking him just a year ago.
Yes.
Right?
Brian,
You guys remember, this is the thing that I keep thinking about. When Obama made fun of Trump in one of those White House Correspondents' dinner.
Oh.
I think it was the year that he caught bin Laden. And then he pointed him to him in the audience and made a joke about him.
Because he was there as a guest of the Washington Post, I think.
Yeah, and his face was like,
I forgot about that.
And so when he was down, because the media they're not the bullies, they're not the outcasts or the outsiders of the dorks in school. They're the sad guys who follow the bullies going, yeah. Back then, they were like, yeah, Donald Trump, when he was being picked on.
Yeah.
Now they're like, yeah, Donald, who do we pick on next? The media is so pathetic.